Good evening. There are major developments tonight on two crises that threaten to drag the United States into war. A deal has just been struck to head off an American airstrike against Syria, and there is a big step forward in talks on Iran's nuclear program.